10 years ago, I could not look at people in the eye, and now I dance with random strangers every single week. And today I'm going to go through a tier list on every single thing that helped me get to where I am now. So I'll be including things that absolutely helped me and that were quite fundamental to my development over the past decade, and things that you shouldn't even bother because they yield so little return. Okay, first off, we're going to start with exposure therapy. Absolutely goated. Literally, you can stop watching this video because this is the only thing you need. Exposure therapy is basically you need to keep looking. Basically, you need to do things that scare you, and you need to do things that make you leave your comfort zone bit by bit by bit. Let's say you're afraid of going out in the public and playing the piano, for example. What you do is you practice the piano at home, and you just visualize practicing. You just visualize playing the piano. Don't even think about going out there in the public and playing the piano yet. You just first visualize playing the piano in the public, and then if that's comfortable to you, you just go out and look at the piano. You don't even have to touch it yet. Just look at the video, look at the piano, and then finally you play the piano. So go step by step. Exposure therapy. If you've got a qualified therapist, they help you do this in a structured way, in a proper clinical structured way. But you don't have to go to therapy to do this. You can just challenge yourself to do things that are outside of your comfort zone, and before you know it, you absolutely smash it. You will absolutely conquer the fear that you have in overcoming whatever fear that you had without any issue. Next one we've got. So this is a generalization of self-help books and books on charisma, communication. They can be very good, but the reason they're not in the S tier is because of the fact that you can read as much as you want. You can read for hours and hours and hours, and you can pull all-nighters. You can do nothing but read books on how to be charismatic, how to overcome social anxiety, but they are all useless if you don't put into action. Okay, so that's the most important thing. You just have to take action. Even if you read one book about overcoming social anxiety in your life, but you make sure to put into action of the major recommendations in the book, you're way above the average population. Similar thing with self-help channels. So not just Charisma Command, there are also like multitude of other self-help channels, but I just put Charisma Command because Charlie is an absolute goat when it comes to me overcoming my own social anxiety. So without his channel, I would not be here today. Okay, so he had an absolute impact on me. When I started watching his videos, I was this shy, scared, nervous kid, and I was afraid of looking people in the eye. I was so bad that if someone was blocking my way, I wouldn't even say, "Excuse me, can I pass through?" That's how bad I was. And he helped me overcome he helped me overcome my social anxiety. Helped me build confidence in myself, confidence in my social skills, and helped me become the person I am today. But it would have been useless if I didn't put his advice into action. So it doesn't matter what sort of content you're consuming. You can consume all sorts of content from everyone on the internet, but again, it's totally, utterly useless. The value becomes zero if you don't put it into practice. Next one is diet. So there's tons of research saying that what you eat, so basically your gut health controls your mental health. So they find that a lot of people who are depressed, for example, and people who are anxious, they lack certain nutrients and vitamins that produce the required chemicals like serotonin, dopamine that your brain needs. So if you manage to get a good healthy diet, and if you cut off junk food, if you don't eat, drink stuff that increase your heart rate, sugary foods like Coke, for example, that's going to play a huge role in you overcoming your social anxiety. Next one is mindset. We human beings, we need hope. Hope is the only thing that keeps us going forward. If we don't have hope, we become depressed. Hope is basically optimism for the future, for the near future. It can be uncertain. You can be absolutely certain that X is going to happen in the future, or you can be absolutely uncertain that something's going to happen. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't have hope, you'll be depressed. You'll fall down into a deep, dark hole of nihilism, black pill, you name it, whatever. And it's going to be really, really hard to keep out of it, get out of it, okay? One of the main reasons I got to where I am today, so before I was a terrible socially anxious wreck, and now whenever I travel overseas, I can make friends anywhere I go, and I got to talk to random strangers on the train, on public transport, on planes. Hell, even my job involves talking to random strangers every single day. And the only way I got that was because of the belief that I can do it. And that belief is very, very paramount. So you need that belief. Like the penguin heading for the mountains, you need to be determined enough. You need to have so much belief and self-confidence in yourself that people think it's delusional. People say it's cope, it does not matter. You need this sort of belief to get there. Okay, I've sort of separated therapy and exposure therapy because you don't need to do you don't need to see a therapist to do exposure therapy, but it can be very useful. So therapy, especially if you've got a good therapist, they can work with you on whatever trouble you've got. For example, let's say you've got public speaking problems, they can get down to the bottom of it and they can give you tips. But at the end of the day, you should not need therapy to overcome social anxiety. I didn't go to a single therapist to overcome social anxiety. My social anxiety would go into a therapist about social anxiety. My crippling social anxiety would have helped me get there sooner. Maybe, definitely possible, but you don't need to. At the end of the day, it all comes down to exposure therapy, exposing yourself to things that scare you in a healthy and a safe way. So that's what therapy does. It gives you that safe clinical environment where you can absolutely progress and go back to whatever your stage before in a safe manner. So they just give you a safe environment. But if you already know how to do that, then you absolutely don't need a therapist to overcome your social anxiety. Okay, this is going to piss off a lot of people, but I'm putting down anxiety meds absolute bottom. So most common social anxiety meds, or anxiety meds, depression meds, medication, antipsychotic medications, you name it. Things like sertraline, aprazolam. What they do is they make sure that, in a nutshell, you don't feel as intense emotions as you would if you hadn't taken the medications. For example, let's say public speaking makes you absolutely retch and vomit all over the floor, and it just makes you go into panic attack every time you even think about public speaking, or you get triggered by public speaking, thoughts of public speaking, or someone puts you in the spotlight. Going on anxiety meds, going on SSRIs, what they just do, they just numb those intense feelings. So you don't feel these emotions as intensely as before. But there comes a problem. Not only they also numb your intense emotions, they also numb your other emotions. Like you can't feel happiness, can't feel sadness, euphoria, positivity, enjoyment, elation. You can't feel any of that anymore. It's very, very difficult to feel that. Do I think meds are helpful? Yes, but it depends if your anxiety is too extreme to an extent that you can't leave the home, then possibly you might need something to help you out. But for majority of the people, for average population, they're gonna do more harm than good. Okay? Because for me, like I said, if I have to use my own example, I could not look people in the eyes. I was afraid. I was so sensitive. I was scared of accidentally offending people. Every time I walk, even though people might be going on their own business, I would think they are talking about me. They're talking to me, and I would look down at the floor. I would be hunched, and just the thought of this looking people in the eye was enough to send me into a panic fight or flight mode. And I overcame all that in the past 10 years without a single anxiety medication. So it just goes to show that a lot of it's just mindset, okay? Like I said before, if you're in an extreme case where you really need it, like if you just can't function, you can't work, you can't go to school, then yeah, go for it. But if not, I don't recommend them. And I'm reading a book called The Body Keeps the Score. It was written by a world-renowned psychiatrist, Professor Van der Kolk. So he did lots of research on how, even when there's been a huge rise in improvements in depression medication, anxiety medication, people all over the world are still getting more and more depressed and anxious, and he wanted to find a root cause of it. And he himself, right, world-renowned psychiatrist, said that medications are not the best way to overcome your anxiety or whatever issue you've got. Right? You might need therapy, you might need an environment to change, you might need to change the cause. But there are other alternatives that are way better than anxiety medications. Next up, looks maxing or improving your appearance. I would put it up as... Okay, I'm thinking between highly effective and decent, but I'll put it as... Okay, I'm going to put it as decent. In my experience, when I lost a lot of weight, so I started taking better care of myself, my hair, my skin, my fashion, the way I speak, my posture, people started becoming more forgiving than compared to when I was a socially anxious red who was fat. So I was an obese kid and I was fat for most of my life. Actually, I was pretty fat for half of my life, and I got made fun of, I got bullied. Unfortunately, this world is very, very shallow. Looks absolutely matter. Whoever says looks don't matter, they're either blind or they're delusional, or they themselves, they just want to bring you down, because looks absolutely matter. But the good news is, if you improve your looks, appearance, and everything else, people will consider you as more charismatic, and you could be like an anxious wreck, and people wouldn't think of anything. They would just let you off the hook more easily. Do I absolutely hate it? Absolutely. But unfortunately, that's the way world works, and I want you to know the brutal truths of the world. Breathing, S tier, straight into S tier, but only temporarily. So let's say you're in a really highly stressful situation. What you're doing, the way your body functions and performs, the way you carry out actions, directly correlates to your anxiety levels, or how much you overthink, how much your fight or flight mode gets activated. Okay? So let's say you are in an interview and you start hyperventilating, you're like, that's going to get you more stressed, right? Your heart rate's going to go up, your fight or flight mode is going to get activated. Your brain's basically telling your body, oh, it's the other way around. Actually, your body is basically telling your brain, and therefore your brain is again telling your body. It's a vicious cycle, vicious positive reinforcement that this is totally an unsafe situation. We need to get the hell out of here now. But instead, if you do things that control your breath work, like say box breathing, where you breathe deeply, hold it in for 4 seconds, and then breathe out, something like that. That's an example. So anything that makes you control your own breathing, like proper breath work, helps alleviate your anxiety. In the moment, it is very, very effective. I've been in a lot of tense situations in my career, in my life. I've talked to a lot of violent people. I've talked to people who were in hospitals for assaulting other people, and through breath work, I was able to remain calm and talk to them and de-escalate over and over and over again. So don't neglect breath work. Posture, highly effective. If you slump, you are automatically sending signals to your brain that I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm nervous, I'm nervous, I'm nervous. And how is it going to help your anxiety? It doesn't. It doesn't. So you need to sit up straight, or you need to be relaxed. Don't be too tense in your shoulders. Don't tap your feet on the floor like that multiple times. Like basically non-verbal communication and non-verbal behaviors. In order to improve, you can read this book called What Everybody is Thinking by Joe Navarro. It is an absolutely fantastic book that will teach you a lot of stuff on the things you could be doing non-verbally that could be coming across as a non-confident person. Alcohol. So I'm going to group alcohol, drugs, psychedelics, everything together as one. So alcohol. Alcohol, I don't drink alcohol. I don't know why people would do it, but that's not part of the discussion for this video. It will inhibit a couple of things in your mind, so you become less socially inhibited. You become more bold, more courageous. Like deep down, your insecurities down there, right here and here, they don't go away. You're just basically numbed. Okay, so it's like, if I have to make an analogy, it's like filling a bucket with a hole in it. You're not repairing the hole; you're just filling more water, which gives the appearance that the bucket's getting fuller and fuller. But if you stop filling water into the bucket, it's just going to pool and the water's going to go, okay? So you really need to solve the deep cause of it, of your anxiety, or even if you don't solve anxiety through exposure therapy and doing things that scare you each and every day consistently, that's going to be of a higher yield than alcohol or other drugs for that matter. Cold showers. I use cold showers every day, even in the dead of winter, even though Australia isn't a very cold country. Even in winter, where temperatures will get to like 10 degrees. So one thing you got to understand is in Australia, when you say winter, right, it's like 10 degrees, or if it's like the worst case scenario would be like 3, 4, 5 degrees, which would be a normal sunny day in spring in Europe or North America, right, for instance. But in Australia, that is freezing to us. And even in those days, I would not use warm water. I refuse to use warm water. I would use cold water for health benefits. It helps with health benefits, like it shocks your immune system, makes you boost your immune system to the point where you don't get sick as often. But I found that it does absolutely nothing for my anxiety. Next one, fashion. Not as highly effective, but that's going to B tier, so that's pretty decent. The moment, okay, when you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you can perform better. That's true. But you could be an absolute bum, like you can dress like an absolute bum who has no sense of fashion. If you're still charismatic, you will still go a long way in life, because I've seen a lot of people like that in my life. However, my personal anecdote is that when I started taking care of fashion, when I started taking care of myself, it gave me more confidence, and it translates into real life conversations with other people. So fashion maxing does play a role in that. Journaling. Okay, this is unfortunate, but journaling really doesn't help for me. That's because it makes me more aware of my own feelings, my emotions, and what I'm going through. It makes me better put down problems. Like, instead of just saying, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of the world, like journaling makes you pinpoint, laser focus on, I'm afraid of X, and I need to do this to overcome X. However, if you don't constantly do the things, again, that scare you, that makes you go out of your comfort zone, journaling is not going to do anything. It will make you become more aware of things. It might give you a better system, but like makes you better at setting goals. But unfortunately, it didn't do a lot for me. What did help was reflecting. So actually, I would put it at decent from there, because it does help you like reflect stuff on how far you've come, and that in turn gives you more confidence to do harder and harder things in the future. So I'll put it as in the decent category. Next one, meditation. Going between meh and decent, I'll put it at decent. When you meditate, you basically become more aware of your thoughts, and if you are doing it properly. So everybody sucks at meditation. Okay, that's what I want you to know. Everybody sucks at meditation in the beginning. You know, people keep saying, "Oh, I keep thinking about this. I keep thinking about X and Y. I keep thinking about my ex. I keep thinking about my school, my work, whatever." Yes, that is the point of meditation. You basically are supposed to detach yourself, right? And then observe your thoughts running around in your brain. That's what you're supposed to do, and then you become more aware of it. And the more you become aware of it, the more you realize that sometimes your thoughts are not your reality. You are not your thoughts. And that belief is so damn powerful. When you finally can accept that, when you finally see that you are not your thoughts, it just sets you free in so many ways and makes you do things that you never thought you could do. Okay? Like if you think that people are just laughing at me, people are just laughing at me, you keep meditating every single day, you journal, and you think back, are people really laughing at me? Or do I just think that people are laughing at me? Okay? And when you see that people are not really laughing at you, it's just you with your thoughts, then that part of anxiety is overcome. Next one is memorizing lines, what to say. So when you go on YouTube, you can search for things like 5 things to say to someone to make them like you, or talk through openers when you talk to a girl, or say these 4 things to make a friend everywhere you go. You can memorize these, but in my experience, what I found is the more I fret about what I would say to the person when I'll go and meet them, the more I overthink, right? The more jumbled my words became, right? Because I was so focused on myself, I was so focused internally. Instead, what you want to do is pick 1 or 2 things, 1 or 2 icebreakers, 1 or 2 small talk starters, and then you want to just go ham with it. Say something that you notice in the other person, instead of just thinking, I should be saying this. If they say Y, I will say Z. And if they say Z, I will say X back. And I will say Y in a high-pitched way. When you get so good at talking to other people, strangers, or small talk in general, you wouldn't even need to do that anymore. So it comes naturally, okay? It becomes automatic. When I first started out, I used to memorize a lot of lines, things to say. It did help in some ways, but I found them to be more hindrance than a help. It's only when I let go of the expectation. But I see another thing about such anxiety and anxiety in general is that you have too much expectation. You are so you-focused. Or I'm ugly, I'm wearing this, or my glasses look weird, my hair looks weird. It just becomes you, or me. Instead, I encourage you to divert your attention outwards to the other person. Okay, so it becomes them instead. And the moment you no longer live in your brain or in your head, the moment you become free. Rejection therapy, highly goated. So I used to be a really sensitive person. I would used to think what the other person said to me like over and over again, like every single night. Like I would not be able to sleep at night because today my friend Tom said this to me. Maybe I should not have said that to him, and then I would just overthink. I would not be able to sleep. The only way to overcome sensitivity is to release, to increase your tolerance. Okay, and that's what you do with rejection therapy. It's basically telling yourself that it is okay. It is normal to be rejected. When you get rejected, the world doesn't end. And when you get rejected by someone, it necessarily doesn't mean anything. Like most of the time, more or less, like it's not a reflection on you, but rather a reflection on them. Okay, how they're feeling. not on you. So I first learned this concept from Tim Ferriss for a work week, where he recommends like going to like random cafes and ask like, okay, can I get a discount and things like that. And I started doing that in my own life. Like I started running experiments where I would go to random weddings that I was never invited to, and guess what? By acting as if I belong there, people just stop questioning. They never question me. I got free foods and free drinks. So it does work, rejection therapy. Next up, retail therapy. Highly effective and S tier. Okay, retail therapy goes in S tier. Retail therapy, not shopping therapy. Okay, I need to correct. What I mean is more in terms of working in retail as a retail worker. I worked in Kmart, and the more I talk to customers, better I got at small talk, at customer service skills, at charisma and everything. So I used to be like really hopeless when it comes to facial expressions, charisma, how to make small talk, how to talk to customers properly and things like that. But when I started working at Kmart, the first few like shifts were pretty brutal. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. But I got really good at small talk. And now working as a nurse, like I can literally talk to anyone in the whole world about anything. Like that's how good I got. So here's a tip I can give you. Like if you are starting on the journey of overcoming social anxiety, one thing you could do, you could just go to like random retail store like Kmart, Target, Australia, for example. I don't know what is in the other world, and talk to staff. That's an easy cheat code, because number one, they're hired to help you. They're hired to be like perky, happy, optimistic people person. So like they'll be very easy for you to practice your rejection therapy, social skills, small talk skills. You can start with things like, hey, pretty terrible weather. Hey, it's pretty hot outside. Hey, it doesn't matter. Same thing happens when you are a worker too. So like it's like jumping into an ice bath, right? Ice to cold water. Like it's going to be a huge shock, but your nervous system will eventually learn that, hey, it's okay. We're safe. And by like the 10th, 11th retail shift, you'll be like totally unrecognizable. Next one is support groups. So support groups can come both in the form of physical, like real life support groups, like Alcoholics Anonymous, but for people with social anxiety, or online groups. I didn't join any real life support groups, but rather I was in a lot of subreddits on Reddit, and they can be helpful because number one, you find out that there are other people like me. I'm not alone. And the moment you learn that you're not alone is empowering, because you don't feel as lonely as anyone. You don't feel like you're the only weirdo in the world, and that is very helpful. But what I find is that a lot of these forums or groups or communities can be very echo chambery, and someone does something out of the ordinary, they just try to bring you back down, right? So a lot of the support groups on Reddit, so Reddit's like the only social media that I browse quite often. What they do is they just become echo chambers. People just spout off one idea, one view and one opinion, and then the people just I agree. I tried small talk. I tried practicing. I tried saying hello to a stranger today, and he didn't say hello back, and because of that didn't work. It's hopeless. We just give up. There's no point in living. Blah 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 blah. It becomes a cesspool. Like it's taken to a far. Like it's taken to an extreme. It hurts you more than it helps you. There are really decent ones, but you can absolutely overcome social anxiety, severe social anxiety, without being in any support group. If you do want to go to support groups, go real life one. But again, hey, who am I kidding? A lot of introverts and people with anxiety, they are afraid of meeting people in real life. So I was afraid of meeting people in the real life. So online groups can be helpful, but just be careful. It is similar to watching YouTube videos, taking courses, reading books on social anxiety and confidence, charisma without actually practicing anything. Okay, there can be sort of a vicious cycle of self-fulfilling prophecy where you do something, it doesn't work, and you find support in another person, but they also don't work, and everyone brings each other down in a negative way. Traveling. This is not for the faint of heart. Solo travel. I absolutely love solo travel. Traveling can be a very, very effective way in overcoming social anxiety. Why? A number of reasons. Number one, it forces you to literally be outside your comfort zone. I would highly recommend traveling to a country that you are where people speak the language you're not fluent in. So for me, it's Germany and France. When I traveled to France and Germany, it really kicked my immune system. Like, it really shocked my social immune system, if I can call it that. I couldn't rely on myself, so I had to ask help from other people. Was it scary? Absolutely bloody scary. And then going up to strangers and asking for directions, asking for help in stores, ordering food. But what I learned is that people are really helpful, and if you go with the belief that a lot of people are helpful and the world isn't out there to get you, but rather it's more or less just a neutral place. And if you go out looking for good things in life, good things will happen to you. When you have that mindset, the world is literally your oyster, okay? It will become your oyster. You can do anything, whatever you want. You can become anything. You can overcome anything in the world. That's how good it is. Anyhow, going back to traveling, it will make you ask questions. It will make you rely more on strangers. It will give you a lot of confidence. Huge confidence booster. When you come back from traveling, when you finally land in your home country, you will definitely feel a huge difference. The only reason it's not absolutely golden is because if you used to be a totally complete nervous wreck like me, who might not have the correct mentality you need to have to travel, you might find it not as helpful. But if you have an open mind, go with the goal of expanding your comfort zone and just talk to a lot of people, it becomes fundamental and it becomes really fun, and you get a lot of enjoyment out of it. Exercise, gym. Okay, hundreds and thousands of research being published on how exercise, anything that keeps your body moving, cardiovascular exercise, gym, climbing, running, swimming, dancing, whatever it is, right, is much more effective in helping reduce the rates of depression and anxiety and treating depression and anxiety compared to medications and therapy. And this is why it's so important. The moment you start moving your body, like a quote I really like is, depression can't hit a moving target. You can say that with anxiety as well, okay? When you move, like, you need to have a good connection between your body and your mind. A lot of people who suffer from trauma, so a lot of traumatic victims and a lot of trauma survivors, they don't have a good connection between their mind and body. And exercise helps bridge that gap. Again, this is coming from the book that I've mentioned earlier, Body Keeps the Score. The author, the psychiatrist, was treating a patient, and he would talk to her, and there would be no improvement. So she would remain guarded and she wouldn't do anything. But the author one day suggested her to go get a massage, right? And do some exercises. And just in the next session, it was like day and night difference. She became more open. She became more like helpful, more positive, more receptive, and was actually engaging in the therapy rather than just sitting there and nodding her head and not doing anything. Basically, alexithymia, right? Not recognizing emotions, anhedonia, not feeling any emotions at all. Go out there and exercise. It doesn't have to be going to the gym. Gym is goated because you build muscles and you lose fat and you lose weight. And I used to be a very fat person, so I know exactly how it feels like when you're obese, when you get bullied. So gym remains one of the best ways for me to improve confidence and help social anxiety. But you don't have to go to the gym. You can do anything that moves your body as long as you enjoy it. Play some sports, go out there and dance, rock climb, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just keep moving. And the final one is joining a community. I would put it as absolutely goated. No other questions. So joining a hobby group or a community not only forces you to go out there and talk to other people, right? Preferably, when I say hobby groups, I want you to go out there in real life, right? In the real physical world, to a physical community, to a physical location. Board game nights, book nights, sword fighting, dancing, rock climbing, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like, when you are surrounded by like-minded people, you are not only more likely to make friends, which in turn will help stave off depression and anxiety. It will also massively help overcome your social anxiety, because if you just stay locked in, right? Like, our brains are very smart, but they are sometimes also very, very dumb. What they do is they will try and convince you that it is not worth it, and you should stay at home because you're in the comfort zone, and therefore it just creates a vicious cycle where you're going nowhere. You're scared of going outside and joining the community. Your brain convinces you that it's better to doom scroll at night at home. You doom scroll, nothing happens. You keep taking meds. You keep doing things that put you back in your comfort zone. You go nowhere. You live life on standby mode, and then one day you get old and you die. That is not how you live life, my friend. Get out of your comfort zone. Go join some communities. You've got to have an interest. If you don't have an interest, now's the time to find it. Like, give it a couple of clubs to try. I tried out with sword fighting. I tried out Muay Thai, and then I tried out running clubs, running communities, and I finally settled with dancing, bachata, and salsa. And you need to do the same thing as well. You need to go out there and go to Google. Chances are that if you live in a city of population of about 500,000 to 1 million people, you usually have a decent sized community with with at least like 5 to 10 members. Like, you don't need a huge community. Like, 5 to 10 people, that is more than enough for you to make lifelong friends, people that you can go and hang out with, people you might even find a significant other. You might find someone that you could be a best man or woman at the wedding. It doesn't matter. Go out there, make some friends, find some friends, join communities, or if you get really good at it, like if you want to take the game to the next level, start a community, right? Start a movement, start a community, and the amount of status and aura you get from this, like, whoosh. Anyhow, join a community, join a hobby group, and it will massively, massively help you overcome your social anxiety. Now, there's a couple of things you can do after watching this video. You can keep going to your old life where you click another video, you doom scroll, whatever, you don't take an action, and that's fine. You're not going to get hurt, it's going to be comfortable, but that's not how you live life, right? It may be comfortable in the moment, but it's only when you get out of your comfort zone and when you truly embrace the cringe, the pain, the suffering, feeling like a total idiot, is when you'll be able to live freely. Alright? And I want you to have a free life, my friend, because you deserve that.